active shooter, that's the word the police and the firemen use to name a person who goes into a big crowd and shoots people. An active shooter, what do they want to do? They want to kill or seriously injure many people as quickly as possible. For the deaf and hard of hearing, what does that mean for an active shooter? For the interpreter who worked with deaf clients, it's kind of confusing. What are their responsibilities? What are they supposed to do? We're going to explain what their responsibilities are in an active shooter. Run, hide, and fight. Run, hide, and fight. And how those things work together for the deaf and hard of hearing and the interpreter both. A woman named Tara Adams, she went to a music concert with her husband and her friends. She was deaf, but she had a cochlear. You know, the music festival on the last day, on the final performance, they were watching the concert when she heard something, sounded like fireworks, made big loud snaps. But she didn't worry about it because they were watching the concert. And later they heard it again. And her husband grabbed her hand and they started running. And everybody was screaming, "Get down, get down, get down." And they were falling on the ground. And they wondered why? Because they thought the shooter was on the same level as them, shooting. They thought the shooter was hiding and saying, "Get down." Tara's husband thought the shooter was on the same level as they were. Later, they found out the shooter was coming from where? From a casino, from a hotel. Her husband found out they were safe, but he didn't find out for a long time. Luckily, there were no deaf people seriously injured in Las Vegas. Luckily, no deaf people were seriously injured or died in the church shooting in Texas. Luckily, no deaf people or died in an elementary school in Northern California or the high school that just happened in Florida. But you need to understand it will happen in the future. Every time an active shooter happens, we ask ourselves three things. First, how do the deaf and hard of hearing, how do they prepare for an active shooter? Second, who's responsible for language and providing that to the deaf community? And third, who provides training to help them get ready? Who answers all their questions? We do know that active shooting has become more and more. It's happening more and more often. And it will happen to someone who's deaf sooner or later. So far, no deaf person's been seriously injured or died. But deaf relatives or family members, they have become victims. But it will happen eventually. Someone who's deaf or hard of hearing will become the victim of an active shooter. So what do? We need to prepare, or preparing before it happens will become better. And that's true for any emergency. So, preparing for an active shooter is the same as preparing for anything else. You need to be prepared. That's our top priority. You need to practice. It'll help save lives. Police and firemen, like first responders, it's not important if it happens. It's important when it happens, what time. It will happen. It will happen. They can predict it. It's not a matter. It's a matter of when it will happen. Is the community prepared? So communities, few communities provide specific practice for deaf and hard of hearing people. So police and firemen, they get specific certifications. So they renew their certifications. They go many hours of training. Police and firemen, they get accreditation to improve it like all the time. They provide practice. They have a lot of opportunities with people. They get money from the state and federal government so that they are always doing exercises they can practice. So if there's an active shooter, what is the police's number one thing to do? To stop the suspect? Who's the suspect? The shooter. The active shooter is different than if they have hostages. You know, if they hold hostages, usually they want what? If they have a hostage, they want money. That's just something specific, right? An active shooter is different. What is their point? To kill or to seriously injure many people as possible quickly. So they're different. And the way they take charge of those situations is different. In a hostage situation, the police, they want to save the people. And an active shooter, the point is to stop the shooter, to find the shooter and to stop him. They want to save people in an active shooter, but that's not their number one priority. Their number one priority is to stop the shooter. So the police go in, they look for the active shooter, and they start checking you. So if you see them, they might search you. What are they searching for? Weapons. They don't want to miss anything, right? They don't know. The shooter might be hiding. And the police, they just don't want people to run by. They want everybody to be safe, but not till after they stop the shooter. The police will instruct you what to do. Don't follow the police. I mean, they may force you. The police officer themselves, they're in a hurry. They're looking for the shooter. They want to stop the shooter. So, they can't tell you I'm sorry, what to do. They mean business. They're there for one reason. They may pat you down, check you for a weapon. They're serious. They may give you a verbal response, stay, get down, or follow me, go this way. So that's really important. And if you're deaf and hard of hearing, you really don't understand what it is. If there's not an interpreter around, that makes it very difficult. So the firemen, they usually arrive after the police. They're there for a different reason. They're there to save lives when an active shooter is happening. So they don't set up close to the action. They show up, they set up afterwards in a safe location. The firefighters are there to help people who are seriously injured. They don't go into where all the action is. They sit back and wait. They wait for the policeman to tell them, to give them the all clear, and then they can go in. Do you wait for the police to tell you it's safe? No. Do you wait for the firemen until you see the emergency lights? No. They're all there to see the shooter. You have to take the warning for yourself. Each person, you're responsible for what? You need to prepare for yourself. You need to be ready. Some businesses provide things for free. Some do charge, yes, but it's all a big variety. Some people have programs for active shooters. They all have practice. Each person, you need to be responsible. So you need to run, hide, or fight. If you can see the shooters far away, run. Run as fast as you can the other way. Run as fast as possible. Don't stop. That's what run means. What if you're inside a building and the shooter's in the building but you don't know where? Or the shooter's inside the building somewhere and you can't run? Close the door, lock it, turn out the lights, and hide and be quiet. That way the shooter can't find you and he won't see you. That means hide. But the shooter comes in, you see him, you can't run, you can't hide. Then what do? You fight, protect yourself. That's the best possible thing to do. That means fight. Your location, the time of day, yourself, your body, your strength, the way you move, the weather, all of it. How you respond, it's all you. There's a lot of specific personal decisions. So in a sign language interpreter contract, so we can cancel our contract if there's weather, danger, or an emergency. If a shooter shows up, the interpreter contract responsibility to provide interpreting communication, it's done, it's over. You're not under any legal obligation to keep interpreting. But what other obligations do you have as the interpreter to provide services? Because as interpreters, we always feel that responsibility. We have that connection with our deaf clients to keep providing services, right? Even if it's in a dangerous situation, are you expected to keep doing it? No, you're not expected to put yourself in danger. You're not a first responder, you're not a policeman or a fireman. You're an interpreter. You have a responsibility, but what What you decide to do or not to do in an active shooter situation is your decision. How you respond to an emergency or a dangerous situation, you need to put your personal safety first. How you respond, if you should become seriously hurt or seriously injured, what happens if you're stuck? Like, you need to put yourself first. You must think of yourself first. Keep yourself safe first. You don't have to put yourself in danger and die for somebody else. A woman named Victoria Lanston, she was a teacher at Sandy Hook Elementary School, and there an active shooter came into school, opened up the door, shot, opened up another classroom door, shot, opened up a classroom door and shot in. And she took the children, put them behind her, and used her body as a shield to protect the children. And the shooter shot through her body. She used her body to protect the children. She died. Please understand that her work contract did not tell her that she had to give her life to protect the children. It didn't say that. Victoria, she made the decision to protect the children. She gave up her life to protect those children. You don't have to give up your life to protect other people. It's your decision, whatever you decide to do. Preparation is the number one thing to be prepared. Active shooter preparation, it provides important information for you to be prepared if there's an active shooter. Preparation needs to take place in a safe area. It takes place with local authorities. It's important for the whole community to take part in the preparation. Advisory Police Committee, it shows you how active police, it tells you how to live safely in an emergency. It tells you what happens if you arrive to the hospital, how you do different things in any emergencies. So what can you do? Practice with them. Plan with them. Put it on your calendar. Go. Learn everything possible. Ask a lot of questions. Raise your hand. Tell them you want to volunteer. Be involved in the practice in your community. Be involved in the exercises with the police and the firemen. Be involved with them. Go to the same practices they do. The police and firemen are always practicing all the time. If you're serious and you want to know what you want to do and you want to be ready in an emergency situation, practice with the police and the firemen. What are the moral, ethical considerations for what is the appropriate way to discuss plans in the event of an emergency between sign language interpreters? Who is responsible for initiating the discussion?